The way we're trying to bridge that gap is working closely with the GIZ group, ICT Chamber of Rwanda, and the PSF group. We are currently conducting an ongoing training of 2 cohorts. We've just completed the first one, graduated 50 students last Friday. And we're getting very specific on the type of technology that we're focusing on. One thing that we see as an opportunity is to create jobs here in Rwanda. In particular, I think one of the poverties in Rwanda is poverty of opportunity. So it's one thing to train people, but if they have nothing to go to, they end up flat. And our goal is to reach out and understand what the need would be in the Western marketplace. So whether it's in Canada, US, or in Europe, we've identified a real need within the IT space. And we've landed on understanding that quality assurance testing of software is a huge need as we see an exponential growth in the development of software. So with that, we've trained the 50 women over the last 8 weeks. We've certified them. They've gone through certification training in something called ISTQB, which is the highest level of standards required.
These are Rwandan women?
These are all Rwandan women right here in Kigali at the moment. And we've been exceptionally surprised. We brought in 3 international trainers, one that's has worked with Microsoft in Seattle for 15 years. He taught about, it's called Scrum and Agile, a methodology of approaching testing. We brought in Randy from Oklahoma City. He sits on the board of the ISTQB, and he coached to that. We were favorably surprised with 75% of the women who took the exam had passed. It's a much higher average than you'd find in most places in the world.
Right.
So we know the women have the capacity.
They have the capacity.
Absolutely.
And you just earlier on alluded to the fact that it's one thing to train, but also it's another for them to actually get the opportunities to practice what they've been trained for.
Right.
Talk to me about what you think the gaps are, what is actually causing most institutions not to absorb these kind of people with this kind of skills.
Right, so that's well stated. What we see is that because the opportunities don't exist here, Muraho's approach is we're working with our sister company. It's called UgoWorks in Calgary, Alberta, and we're securing contracts there. We're securing contracts in Germany to bring the work here, but have the people stay here. And our approach is to tailor the training to fit the work so that you have a perfect fit. And Muraho facilitates both the training and the bringing in of contracts so we can create employment. Now, the goal would be that over the years, these women would not just learn how to be good testers, but they would pursue their passions, learn good leadership skill development. We use the word capacity building. I think it's more like people building. And we want to be part of building the leadership of Rwanda for tomorrow. And the reason, just very quickly, the reason why we've selected to work with women is women work extremely well in teams. There's something innately built into a Rwandan woman, attention to detail, collaboration, very focused on problem solving. And when we pull these teams together, I think we have a chance of creating a center of excellence within Rwanda for all of Africa for this type of technology.
And of course, they always say that it's always a give and take situation in most instances. So you're giving the training, you're giving the opportunity for them to get these jobs. Right. What are you taking out of this?
We're taking a lot of personal satisfaction. Many of us on our current leadership team have come from living in the West. Myself, I've worked for 32 years in business. In Canada, Australia, now in Africa. I've worked for Fortune 500 companies. My gift is to see these women shine.
You want to see them shine.
Absolutely.
There's a great concern as well that Africans are mostly, or African countries are mostly the ones who just consume these softwares that are being developed from outside. And there's been a debate on when is Africa going to be the producers of this kind of softwares. Where do you see this going?
I definitely see it moving in the right direction right now. I was in with a customer today here in Kigali, and they have a very large development department within their company. They're building solutions in Africa for problems that exist in Africa. And I think that's the best way to approach this. And I think there's nothing different between an African or someone from North America, but given the opportunity and the right infusion of support, they can build anything that they need, and I think they're very brilliant.
One of the statistics that is very interesting that I was just going through here is 70% of all software and applications that are actually built in China are actually written by women. This is a very important statistic that I saw out there, and I want to read your thoughts on, with this training that you're doing, where do you see the women that you're putting together in this kind of training? Do you see them adapting to this or surpassing these kind of things that are happening in China?
Yeah, absolutely. I think to date, though, there's been a barrier or a wall that's put up against women because they haven't had the opportunity. I don't like to think of, in some sense, women or men. I think we're all people, and we all have, but given everyone having equal opportunity, you'll find out who does better at that. And we're convinced that women will do as well, and in some circumstances, even better than men.
Right.
You know, men are extremely competitive. That's great. Women are much more nurturing. You know, it all depends on what kind of team you're putting together.
And during these training sessions, what is the difficult thing? What's the most difficult thing that these women tell you they go through in the process of getting this knowledge, getting these skills?
Yeah. So one of the things is just a way of learning. Okay. So we're coming in there, and we're not just throwing technology terminology at them. So one of the challenges that they face is, how do I absorb this? So we've gone through 14 lists of competencies. So we spend the first 3 weeks of 8 weeks teaching competency-based learning. And once that concept of learning is there, the mind is open. And at that point, everything seems to stick. And that's why they've done so well in their exams.
Right. Yeah. And so how do you ensure that there is follow-up? Because as we said earlier on in the beginning of this conversation, was the training is given, but then the absorption becomes a challenge as far as the markets are concerned. So how do you ensure that whatever you train them is what they're actually practicing in the end?
Right. Perfect question, because otherwise it's just good effort.
Yes.
So how we ensure that is that our team is actually out there sourcing opportunity in business outside of Rwanda to bring the contracts in. So we expect that for as many people as we train, we will be able to find opportunity and positions for them. That's to get the pump primed. That's to get the ball rolling here. And then once they're on their feet, earning a great income, sustainable income, long-term employment, then they can make the other choices in life for their own careers. Yeah.
And so what is the age bracket that you're working with here? Because it's also important to understand that we have young people who are easy to grasp up some of this content, some of this communication, and we have some who just going to be difficult to put together. What kind of teams are you working with?
Yeah, so right now the group that we've just graduated, it was from 18 years old to 33. In there were 5 nursing mothers. So we provided a daycare for the babies so that the mothers would have no barriers on being part of this, because we know in a couple of years those babies are going to be children, and then what are the mothers going to do? And they shouldn't be held back from developing. So it's a wide age group. We want to start with 18, though. We want to make sure people we prefer university graduates, but you know what? We have I'd say there's probably 12 people that only have high school degrees, and there's been no difference in when we've seen in the final outcome of how they've performed.